Sweet. Welcome back, chat. So glad you're here today. Hoping that this next video is going to be awesome. We're going to be multiplying decimals. Before you do that, though, make sure you hit the bell in the top right corner, and then also make sure you like and subscribe, so that way we can, make this channel grow and you guys can be doing awesome things with math. Okay, so today we're going to be multiplying decimals. We're going to do one that just has a decimal on one side, as well as we're going to do one that has a decimal on the left and on the right. So they both use similar in the same steps. So we're going to walk through the steps one time and then we'll solve the problems. Okay, so when we're looking at steps like this, our first step when we are multiplying a decimal times a whole number is, I'm not very good, and you're probably not very good either, at just multiplying decimals in your head. So we need to make this easier for ourselves. And how do we do that? Okay, you might ask. Well, hopefully you have an answer to your own question. How do we do that? Well, our first step is we need to change this number to a decimal. So on your paper in front of you, hopefully you've written this number down. Write this one down too, because we're going to do it soon. Is we're going to change 2 5/10 to a whole number. Now, if you watched my previous videos about place value, you saw us drawing charts, and you saw us how we moved the numbers and we never moved the decimal. Okay, when it comes to actually multiplying a decimal problem, I know it might be kind of hard to show that number's moving like that. So we're going to use this. It's going to look like the decimal's moving, but we know in our heads that the decimal never moves. It's actually the number. Okay, so when we move this over, every single place value that we move is times 10. And I want you to make sure that you write that down. So when you move that decimal, make sure that you write times 10 underneath that little swoop right there. Now, this is going to turn into 25. I'm going to then write this. I don't need to change this. 3 is already an easy number to work with, so 25 times 3. I'm going to go ahead and solve this. If you can't do this in your head quickly, think of it as quarters. If I have 3 quarters, how much is that? Okay, that'd be 75. So that was my step 2. Once I change it to a whole number, I'm going to multiply my whole numbers to hopefully get a whole number. Now my step 3, the most important step that a lot of people forget, is you're not done. This is not your answer. You now have to multiply the opposite back. So if I multiply by 10 here, I now need to multiply this by the opposite of 10, which we've learned from place value, that when my numbers go left, I multiply by 10. I want you to think to yourself, when my numbers go to the right, what do I multiply by the other way? If you said 1/10, then you are correct. Okay, so if I multiply by 10 here, this now needs to come back the other way, and I'm multiplying this by 1/10. Make sure you go ahead and write that down, that when you swoop back, that it's the opposite, so 1/10, or what we've learned in class, the reciprocal. Okay, you're multiplying by the reciprocal coming back. All right, so this is now my answer. So this decimal's right here in the middle. So my answer is 7 5/10, or 7 1/2. And that's my answer. If I want to check my work, that might be a step 4 is to check my work. Is if I have one number, or I only moved one number after the decimal here, then I need to make sure that I move one number back right here. Okay, so let's go to this next one. We're going to use those same steps when solving this. So again, I can't do this in my head. I need to make this into an easier number to multiply. And how am I going to do that? Well, fill in the blank. I need to change my number to a whole number. Okay, or change my decimal to a whole number. So I'm going to move my decimal over. If I move once, that's times 10. Now, I'm not going to do this, but if I moved it again, think to yourself, what would I multiply again? If you said times 10, then you're correct. And we know that 10 times 10 would actually be times 100. Okay? But there's no need to do that in this one, so we're not going to worry about it. But in case you see a problem that requires you to do that today, I want you to be aware that you can move that decimal as many times as you need, as long as you keep multiplying by 10. So let's go ahead and we're going to write times 10 again. And this is going to turn into a 12. Now we're running into a problem. Unlike over here, we just had an easy 3. I still don't want to multiply by a half. Some of you actually might be able to do this in your head right now, what 12 times 0 and 5/10 is. Some of us can't. So let's just go ahead and go through it anyway to see if we can do it. So let's change this to a whole number 2. So again, I'm going to move this. I'm going to say this is times 10 again. And this now turns into 0, 5. Well, that's not a number. Do we need that 0? No. Okay, so let's get rid of it. Don't let that 0 freak you out. If it's in the front, okay, on the left side of the number, it doesn't matter. You don't need it. You can erase it. Okay, so we have 12 times 5. That was one of our multiplication facts, so hopefully you got that like this. If you don't, count by 5s 12 times. Give you 2 seconds. Okay, if you said 12 times 5 is 60, then you are correct. Okay, so now let's go ahead and answer this. All right, just like over here, if I moved once by times 10 over here, then I make sure that I move back once over here. But here's the difference. I moved once here, and I moved once here. So think to yourself, how many times do I need to move back? If you said 2, because you moved once here, and you moved once here, then you're correct. Okay, so remember, my decimal is always at the end. We may not write it, but it's always there. And you just told me we moved once here, and we moved once on this side. Now we need to move back once and back twice. Now, what am I forgetting? What do I need to write right here? Go ahead and write it on your paper if you haven't already. If you are writing, hey, I need to do the opposite. I need to take the reciprocal. I need to multiply by 1/10 and then multiply by 1/10 again. If I multiply by 10 twice up here, then I better do the opposite down here. Multiply twice by 1/10. So my answer now, here's my decimal, is I write it. My decimal, which is this, and I know if there's nothing in front of the decimal, maybe I can put a 0. So 0 and 60 hundredths, or 0 and 6/10 would be your answer. Okay, so a good check, again, is to make sure that whatever you moved up here in the first time, make sure that you move it back on the way back. All right, I hope you guys understood that. If you have any questions, ask me, ask your teacher. Wish you the best of luck. You guys got it. You'll do great. All right, go kill it out there.